Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am starting out today by having a little fun with foiling. Dare to be Artsy has some new foiling plates, and this is the Make Waves background foiling plate. And so I was foiling that. I was actually foiling all the things, as you can see from my little pile of foil stuff there. And I am going to make a card with one of these backgrounds today. I took that Make Waves foil background and I cut it down using one of the stitched circle dies from Dare to be Artsy. And I thought I would try coloring this with some Karin Brush Markers. These are water-based markers used for watercoloring techniques. And I know that I foiled on the Hammermill basically smooth cardstock. It's coverweight cardstock, which is great for foiling, but I wasn't sure how this was going to take the water and watercolor, so I am going to kind of baby step my way through this. All I am using is just a little spritz of water, which I just sprayed onto my desk, and then I scribbled the marker onto my desk, and I'm going to pick up that color with a small brush, and I'm going to very carefully paint on that color onto my little circle piece here. And I'm not adding a ton of water to this. I was concerned that the water wouldn't mix well with the foiling, or that it might make it lift. I didn't see too much of that, but again, I didn't use a lot of water. So I think that this worked well for just doing a real soft watercolor. If you were going to do something more intense, I would say you probably would need to watercolor it first and then foil it. And I don't know how that would work, so that's another experiment that I need to try. So I am just coloring these in, and I'm going to use the Karin brush markers I'm using are the neon set. I actually expected them to be a little bit brighter, but I think it's because I'm not doing a heavy concentration of color, and I'm adding that water to it, so it's lightening it out a little bit. But they're kind of pretty colors, so I really like that. And I only used these 4 colors, so I basically used a neon purple. I believe that the dark blue is a neon purple blue or violet blue, and then a neon light blue, and then a neon yellow green. And I just basically alternated those colors and colored up each of these little sections here to give me a nice little pastel background. So I am going to put on some music while I finish this coloring, and I'll let you watch this process, and I'll be back when I'm done. Okay, I am adding the finishing touches with the yellow here, the yellow-green, I guess it is. It's a very, very light color. It turned out a lot lighter than what I thought. So I did go back over a couple areas and add a little bit more yellow to it just to kind of double up the color and make it a little bit brighter. And I don't know if you noticed, but I did add to my water a little bit of aqua shimmer pin. So that is adding a little bit of shimmer to this, the coloring. So my background will be shimmery and foiled. So it's like the double sparkle, double foil. I think it looks really cool. And it was a lot of fun to do this. And I think it turned out well. I did end up layering this piece. I let it dry overnight. And then I cut 2 more circles and I just glued them to the back just to make it more stable because it did warp just a tiny bit, even with the small amount of water that I used. As I said, this Hammermill cover weight cardstock is really not made for watercolor. So if you're going to do something like this, you'll probably need to add a couple layers to it to just make it more stable. I'm just finishing up this, and I used a very small little paintbrush, and then I could have used like a little small bowl of water, but I felt like that would be too much water. I was afraid I was going to go full on dipping my paintbrush into it, and I just really wanted the smallest amount of water as possible. And you can really see the shine from the foiling and those beautiful pastel colors. I think this turned out so pretty. I was tempted to do a whole background, but it would have taken me a lot longer to do that. That will probably be something I will try in the future, just to see how it's going to turn out. Since now I know it works, I can do a full background. I didn't want to do a full background and then have it not work and then have to start all over. So start out small. So here I have stamped the floral cluster from the Scandinavian Songbird set, and I am going to color that up with my Copic markers. I am using, I'm sort of trying to match my colors a little bit with the colors I use for the watercoloring. It's not exact because I didn't use any purples, but I did use some red violets for my pinks, and I'm just going to color this up. I will put on a little bit of music while I color this, and I'll be back in a jiffy. Okay, I have finished my coloring. I am going to add a, this is a Sakura Jelly Roll pen in Stardust. It gives a little bit of sparkle, and I'm just adding a small amount of that to the center of the flowers, and maybe a little bit on the larger pink flowers there, just to add a little bit of shimmer to those. And I will die cut these out here using the coordinating dies. I wanted to make sure that that Jelly Roll pen dried before I ran it through my die cutting machine. It does take a little bit for it to dry. I'm going to use the coordinating dies here, and I will just tape those in place using some repositionable tape. I really like the repositionable tape. It does leave a little bit of a sticky residue sometimes, so I try to be careful not to get it directly onto my colored image. Otherwise, if you do, you can use a sand eraser or just an Altenew eraser probably to take that off. It works pretty well. I have everything die cut. I'm going to cut a couple of mats here. I use some black cardstock. This is A2 size, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And then I use the stitched rectangle dies from Dare to be Artsy. And I just layered that together with some dimensional foam. And now I'm going to add my little watercolored circle with some more dimensional foam. I kept this card pretty clean and simple. I didn't add anything additional in terms of embellishments because my watercolored circle, with the foil and the shimmer in the watercolor, I didn't feel like it needed it too much. So I am just going to layer these flowers, and then off camera, I did heat emboss the thank you from the Scandinavian Songbirds stamp set. I heat embossed that with some black embossing powder. And I'm adding some dimensional foam to the outer edges of the flowers, and then I will use liquid glue for the inside edge that will be touching the circle. And that will just make sure that it's level. Since I did add dimensional foam to my circle, I wanted to make sure that it was level. And that wraps up my card for today. Thank you so much for joining me. I have listed and linked all of the products below in my YouTube description, and you can also find it over on my blog. Thank you again for joining me. Goodbye.